Every relationship you enter seems to tell the same story. Different names, different faces, but the same heartbreak playing out on repeat. You give your heart away, hoping this time will be different, and yet it all feels eerily familiar. It makes you wonder, why does this keep happening? It's not just bad luck or a string of coincidences. It's by design, a hidden design you didn't even know you were following. The truth is, you're not falling in love with new people at all. You're falling in love with your past, with the same pattern wearing a new mask, again and again. You will marry one of your parents. Not literally, of course, but in a psychological sense. You will, or you already have. Every romantic choice you've made has been guided by an invisible memory from childhood. Your heart isn't free. It's a prisoner of the past, repeating what it learned when you were small. We all marry our parents in some way. Sigmund Freud suspected this long ago, and the world either laughed or recoiled in discomfort. His idea was too outrageous for polite society. He dared to suggest that the roots of our adult love trace back to the nursery, that we seek, in lovers, something of the mother or father who first taught us love. Freud claimed that every little boy harbors an unconscious desire for his mother and a rivalry with his father. He called this the Oedipus complex. It sounded scandalous, as if accusing every child of taboo desires, and many people rejected it outright. But Freud believed it held a kernel of hidden truth. He named it after Oedipus, the tragic Greek king who unknowingly killed his father and married his mother. As twisted as that myth is, Freud saw it as a metaphor for our psychology. A boy's first deep love is his mother, and no one else may ever quite measure up. He may spend his life looking for her echo in the women he meets. And what of daughters? Freud's theory focused on sons, but Carl Jung extended it to daughters. He called it the Electra complex, after another tragic figure. A girl's first love is her father. He sets the standard for how she expects to be treated by men. She will unconsciously seek a man who gives her the kind of love, or pain, that her father gave. Now, this doesn't mean anyone truly wants to marry their parent, or that they feel a deliberate attraction. It's not about conscious desire at all. It's about the deep imprint a parent leaves on the heart. Your opposite-sex parent sets your template for love. They teach you, without meaning to, what to expect from the opposite sex, and those lessons sink deeper than reason. If that first model of love was gentle and safe, part of you will seek that warmth again and again. But if that model was cold, chaotic, or cruel, you may unwittingly chase that instead, because the chaos is what you know. We gravitate toward the familiar, even when the familiar is pain. Think about it. A child's mind is impressionable. If your mother only showed you affection when you achieved something, you might grow up equating love with performance. If your father was absent or unfaithful, you might feel drawn to distant or untrustworthy partners, replaying the old drama and hoping somehow for a different ending. We all carry such scripts inside us, unresolved desires, unmet needs, old wounds. They lie quietly in the unconscious, but they pull the strings. You might think you're choosing a partner out of free will, but in the shadows, your inner child is searching for someone who can either heal the wound or repeat it. Often, it ends up being a bit of both. So you meet someone who feels just right, maybe too right. They spark something in you, something eerily familiar. It feels like destiny, like you've known them forever. In truth, you have. Not the person, but the pattern. Your psyche recognizes in them the outline of someone from your past. Perhaps you always fall for strong, dismissive men, and you wonder why you never feel truly seen. Then you recall a distant echo, a father who never paid much attention, whose approval you craved but rarely received. Now you keep chasing that feeling, hoping this new man will finally give you what dad didn't. Or you find yourself drawn to women who need saving. Vulnerable, wounded birds you feel compelled to rescue. And then it hits you. You're replaying your relationship with your mother, who always needed rescuing from her own despair. You couldn't save her as a child, so you try to save her now by proxy. over and over, with each new damsel in distress. A more harrowing example: a girl who grew up with an abusive father may unwittingly end up dating abusive men, not because she wants to suffer, but because deep inside, chaos and fear feel like love to her. If love always came with bruises and apologies when she was little, then cruel words and violence later strangely feel like home. It's not always so dramatic. Maybe you keep finding partners who criticize you, cutting you down. You don't realize it, but you've internalized your mother's constant judgments, and now you seek them out. A part of you thinks criticism is normal in love, because that's what love sounded like in your childhood. Or perhaps you fall for people who are emotionally unavailable. You wonder why you feel so alone, even when you're with someone. Then you remember the little girl you once were, waiting for a father who never had time. That loneliness became your comfort zone, so you've recreated it with partner after partner. Even being loved too much can leave scars. If your mother smothered you with overprotection, you might now equate love with losing your freedom. As soon as someone gets too close, you feel suffocated and push them away. You sabotage promising relationships because deep down, you are still trying to escape the cling of a mother who wouldn't let go. Over and over, we unconsciously seek the same dynamics we grew up with. Freud called this repetition compulsion, the drive to repeat ancient patterns as if we're trying to rewrite the story. The abused often find abusers. The neglected find new abandoners. It's not that we want to suffer. It's that deep down, we confuse the familiar with the good. We mistake pain for love because that's what we learned. On some level, this twisted logic almost makes sense. The child in you is trying to fix the original hurt. Maybe this time, the cold parent figure will finally love you, or the abuser will suddenly change. So you find someone just like them, hoping to win a different ending. But as long as you're in the dark about it, the ending never changes. You relive the old pain again and again, thinking it's fate. The heart has its own memory. It latches onto what it first knew. If your childhood taught you that love comes with shouting and tears, then a quiet, gentle love might seem dull, while a roller coaster relationship feels like home. If love meant you had to earn every scrap of affection, then unconditional love feels undeserved. You'll push it away and chase someone who makes you fight for their approval. And so, many live on autopilot, dating their mother or father in disguise. They'll say, "Why do I always attract jerks?" Or "Why can't I find someone who treats me right?" Without seeing the invisible pattern. The common denominator is them, or rather, the child inside them, choosing the familiar every time. Look closely at your own life. Dare to ask yourself, are you in love with a ghost? Do the fights, the patterns, the disappointments in your relationship echo something from your childhood? Don't answer too quickly. Sit with the question. Be brutally honest with yourself. You might realize that the very thing you hate in your partner now is exactly what hurt you as a child. It's the behavior you swore you'd never tolerate again, and yet here it is, invited back into your life, as if some unseen hand. Realizing this truth is both eerie and enlightening. It can feel like a betrayal of your current relationship to admit it's following a script from decades ago. But this admission isn't a condemnation. It's the first step toward freedom. An unconscious pattern has no power over you once you see it for what it is. Most people never get this far. They go through marriage after marriage, heartbreak after heartbreak, blaming bad luck or the flaws of others. They never lift the mirror to see their own face in the tragedy. But you're here, still listening, which means you're willing to look in that mirror. You wouldn't have stayed this long if you weren't. That already sets you apart. This knowledge isn't for everyone. It's disturbing to think our hearts play puppet to our past. Many will just shrug it off or reject it. But you're still here. Some part of you is tired of the illusion, tired of repeating history and calling it destiny. Carl Jung once said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. We've blamed fate for so many of our relationship failures, when really it was our unhealed wounds drawing us back for another round. We meet someone and feel an electric spark and call it destiny, but often it's just our psyche recognizing a familiar pain, dressed up in new clothes. Fate isn't kind or cruel. Fate is just the name we give to our patterns until we wake up. These patterns feel powerful, inevitable. But here's the secret. What was scripted by your past can be edited in your present. You can awaken in the middle of the story and decide this will not be your ending. That realization is the plot twist most never see coming. So if you've noticed this pattern in your life, you've already done the hardest part. You've opened your eyes. The spell is cracking. The next time you feel that magnetic pull to someone, you won't just ask, "Do I love them?" You'll also ask, "Does this dynamic feel familiar?" That one question can save you from walking into the same wall again and again. Because once you see the puppet strings, you don't dance the same way. The moment you spot yourself chasing mom's love or dad's approval in someone new, that clarity gives you power. Now you have a choice: continue down that familiar path or step off it entirely. It won't be easy. The child in you will still cry out for those old comforts, even if they're toxic. You might feel the pull to slip back into what you know, to fight or beg for love the way you did when you were small. Changing who you pursue or how you love can feel like betraying your own blood. In a way, it is. You're defying the programming of generations. It will feel uncomfortable, even wrong at first. But that's the discomfort of growth. But here is the brutal grace of this truth. Now that you know, you can't unknow. You can try to close your eyes again, to blame your lover or your circumstances instead of the pattern. But something in you has shifted. The innocence of not knowing is gone, and in its place stands a quiet power, the power of choice. This knowledge is dark. It means accepting that your deepest love has been entangled with your deepest hurt. But this knowledge also gives you power. It lets you decide which side of yourself to feed: the wounded child desperate to replay the past, or the awakened adult determined to break the cycle. Now that you see the game for what it is, how will you play? Will you let your past continue to pick your partners and script your story? Or will you seize the pen and write a new script? The heart may not have been free before, but now you've seen the strings. Will you still let them control you? Let this uncomfortable truth be your lantern. It's a harsh light, yes. It shows things you might rather not see. But it also shows the way out. It illuminates the traps so you won't trip. What you do with this light is up to you, but at least now you aren't wandering in the dark anymore. We didn't choose the hand we were dealt in childhood. You didn't choose your parents or what their love taught you. But you can defy that old design, not with rage or brute force, but with intention. You can decide that what was does not dictate what will be. You can break the ancient spell and chart your own path. In a world where most hearts sleepwalk through the same tired stories, choosing to wake up is a rebellion. When you decide to love with eyes open, not blinded by old patterns, you're rebelling against generations of fate. And that rebellion brings a new kind of meaning, the kind you forge for yourself. Yes, this insight is dangerous. It means the fairy tales were wrong. It means love isn't just a magical force, but a pattern written deep inside of us. It's a cold, bright light to carry, but with that light comes clarity, and clarity gives you the power to finally change your story. If you have the courage to face this, then you have the courage to do what most never will: break the cycle, to look at yourself, shaped by a past you didn't choose, and say, enough. Most people will never do this, but you can, if you're willing to trade comforting lies for uncomfortable truth. This is your moment of awakening. The sleepy part of you that found comfort in pain is stirring, blinking, beginning to see. Don't turn away now. Don't lull yourself back into that familiar nightmare just because it feels like home. Stay with this discomfort. It's the feeling of chains finally breaking. Remember, your heart isn't free. It repeats what it knows. But knowing that, you can teach it something new. You can show it that love doesn't have to hurt, that comfort can come from kindness and stability instead of chaos. It won't happen overnight, and it won't be easy. But it can happen. You can free your heart. If you stay still, you fall back to sleep. And if you fall back asleep, you know what awaits you. Another life on autopilot. But if you step forward, if you break the pattern even once, you awaken. With eyes open, you can love in a way you never have before. Not as a prisoner of the past, but as the author of your future. Before closing, leave one sentence in the comments. Not a reaction, not a slogan. One brutally honest sentence that marks the moment you stop lying to yourself. Disappear. Live. And when you're ready, come back. I'll be waiting where I always am. On the edge, where it all begins.